Hey everybody, Zach here. Today we're doing something a little bit different. Expect tangents, expect good film discussions. I am joined by a YouTuber I quite like. His name is Justin, and his channel is called Style is Substance. Say hello, Justin.
Hello, everybody.
Excellent, excellent. So Justin does he's a video essayist, but he also does amazing film critique videos. I really enjoy him. He's got a good personality. His newest video is actually about Andy Warhol's Empire, and
Yep.
it's a really damn good video. I would recommend watching it instead of watching the entire 8-hour film Empire.
Yeah.
And we were talking. We weren't recording this while we were talking about it, but we think it's almost as good as that time that Andy Warhol ate a cheeseburger while staring down the camera.
Yeah.
Almost
as good, not quite. Yeah,
not quite the same kind of gravitas, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got some really good videos, and we have some crossover every once in a while. He's covered people I haven't covered, like Warhol and Eisenstein. I've referenced them, but I haven't tackled them yet. But we discovered each other through our Possession videos, the film by Andrei Zulawski. And Justin has a whole series on Possession if you're interested in that film, which has a ton of strands of meaning to it. And his videos are really good about Possession.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first found you, it was through your Possession video. And I remember watching the whole thing, and it got to a point where you covered the same exact argument that I was making about the homoerotic subtext of the film that it seems that not too many other people picked up on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Possession is a film that overwhelms you with meaning and symbolism and all these incredibly psychosexual concepts and ideas. That it is interesting that you and I kind of came to the same conclusions on a certain aspect of it. And it's a very small aspect of it, but I'm with you. I actually haven't seen that anywhere else as well. And to me, it's inescapable. But like I said, it overwhelms you with so many different avenues to go down.
Right. And the thing is, I think for a lot of people, they may not pick up on that because they're so busy picking up on something else. Like I made this other short little video on Possession that I couldn't seem to fit in with anything else that I already covered, where I just point out, hey, look at the scene. There's something weird going on in the scene. There's randomly in one scene, there's a prop of a head that this guy kicks around. And I did not notice that until my 8th viewing of the film.
Dude, I didn't notice it until you fucking made that video. And just for reference, for those who haven't seen this film, luckily we haven't said any spoilers, but this guy kicks the head. It's like to the right of the screen. It's not focused on.
Yeah.
There's no way, unless you you slowed it down and freeze framed it, and that just opens up everything. Film there's so much meaning in that film. It's so insane.
And I still don't know what that exactly is supposed to mean, but I
would guess he's kicking it in front of the wall. Some sort of I would go for some sort of political meaning, probably. I
haven't even dug into the politics of that film. I mean, the explicit politics. I mean,
oh, that's a can of worms. That's something. That's something I really didn't go into in my analysis either. I focused on psychosexual themes as well. But mine was also a group analysis, and when you have people to bounce off of, it's a lot easier than you when you're doing something solo like that. It's really well researched, though, and I think it's really kind of eloquent. I like the way you speak in your videos. And I also really like the title of your channel because I agree with the sentiment that it immediately brings to mind. Style is substance. Do you want to elaborate on that for some of my viewers?
Yeah, so the name of my channel is Style is Substance, and that has to do with the constant style versus substance debate that a lot of people have, where they would say a film, let's say a Tarantino film, like Kill Bill, they will say this movie has a lot of style but not that much substance. Just an example, I don't.
I've heard that. I heard that today at work, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Still being said.
What a coincidence. So, but in my opinion, in my perspective, style is substance. I understand like that people's opposition usually stems from semantics. Like people treat the written context and subtext of a film as the substance, while they treat the auditory and visual aspect as the style. But I think that kind of ignores key components of film as an artistic medium. Like film is this unique mode of communication, and the common distinction between style and substance is ultimately reductive. Uh, I would hope that people would start to maybe move away from that, because if you look at like uh, Battleship Potemkin, there's this one scene in particular that if you saw the film, you know what I'm talking about. That uses editing to its maximum effect, the Odessa step sequence. Yeah, it's a prime example of visual storytelling, but it's also using that visual storytelling to convey political and thematic intentions. This is style and it's also substance at the same time, but that's also how all films function in a way. It just may not be that explicit. When people say something is style over substance, they generally mean that the film is not that deep, but it's aesthetically pleasing. But the thing is, aesthetics is still substance. And a dialogue heavy film can also be substance, or it is substance. Maybe it's not.
John Cassavetes, the entire career of John Cassavetes is some of the most substantive things I've ever seen, emotionally speaking.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It communicates something to the viewer through its writing, through its visuals, but visuals in a way are a type of writing because it's a visual language. I mean,
you brought up Eisenstein. I'm pretty sure that he was like inspired to make that montage by ideographs, by like Chinese writing, and the way that the symbols kind of mesh with each other, the way that they clash with each other or juxtapose dialectically in order to tell a greater meaning. Like he is using a language. It is language. It is substance. And it's beautiful like that. Most certainly. And we only have, like, you brought up Kill Bill. It's like pretty accessible. Dario Argento and like Brian De Palma come to mind. All these masters, really, who are style is substance. There's just no other way around it, and it's a philosophical conundrum because define either one, and they're both interlocked. It have to be.
Yeah, I'm actually working on a video right now. It may not be out for another month or so, but I'm going to analyze the opening scene of Zack Snyder's Watchmen. And I know that a lot of people don't like that film, but I'm using it kind of as an example.
That's the only part of the film I like.
Oh yeah. Did you like the
opener?
Yeah. Did you like the? Because I think my second favorite part of that film, off the top of my head, is maybe Dr. Manhattan's flashback. I think a lot of people like that part too. You know, like when his origin story. I know a lot of people like that part.
I don't know. No, I didn't. I didn't really like that part.
That's all right.
I thought that the only part of the movie that showed any sort of actual creativity was that opening sequence. I thought that it was a great distillation of a lot of the kind of extra parts of the graphic novel, whereas the other parts are almost too hyper literal to be properly translated into film. And I feel that way about the Dr. Manhattan. Not taking anything away from Billy Crudup, I thought he was great. In that sequence, but
now if you see now maybe this is a good example of like how like people can talk about a film with opposite opinions and still be productive, if that makes sense. Because I know a lot of times I've seen so many people, like if you say like a movie that they like is bad, like they get really defensive, and I don't know. I guess I just don't. I guess I just don't really function that way personally.
Oh no, I can't get into it. I mean, unless you come for Sofia Coppola, then I'm like, ride or die for my queen, bro. But everything else is fine.
Especially
that's the beauty of film criticism, and hopefully the beauty of something like YouTube, like a community. I can't understand. I feel like a lot of people watch videos to just kind of get a confirmation bias. I want to watch videos that kind of open my perspective a bit. I want
Right.
to watch good criticism, which is why I go to channels like yours as well as a couple other ones that kind of deal with more sophisticated materials and try to talk about them in a way that is not only articulate but
Accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I'm in the same boat in that respect. Yeah. How would you say that you approach your videos, like in making?
Well, right now, all I do is smoke a cigarette and talk about whatever film thing is on my mind. But I'm just so like kind of manic and so kind of like possessed by like a true love for film that I can just rattle off for
A
10 minutes.
possession. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. Possessed by love for film. But if I'm watching a movie and I'm trying to properly criticize or understand it, I always try to approach it like emotionally, compositionally, and conceptually, and
Right.
try to wrap
That
my brain around all of those.
and that's the way to do it, in my opinion.
Of course, my channel's like kind of hyperbolic, a
Yeah.
bit shameless in it, so the emotionality is very important to me because I have seen a trend of like it seems like the new school of film criticism is it might not be bad, but it is extremely kind of academic or extremely like over logical for me. Like it kind of forgets the component of film that like moves you, that is supposed to be transcendental, or like the part of the film that's supposed to be dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, it's like I like to have balance, if that makes sense. And you like you have to have, in my opinion, you should strive for an analytical academic analysis. Analytical analysis. Okay, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
That, and then also strive for trying to get in touch of why this makes somebody feel this way. You know.
yeah, and that's my primary focus. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I do strive for balance every once in a while, but
Yeah.
my way of striving for balance is having one of my more kind of like mathematical or surgical minded like friends on the channel with me, and they'll talk
Yeah.
more consistently and like a bit more objectively than I will. I'm very focused on emotionality because I feel like you can go buy an Andrei Tarkovsky book written by professors that go deep into every single aspect and component of the film and will be far more articulate and eloquent and informed than I will ever be. But what that person can't tell you is how it like completely shifted me and myself. And I actually feel someone like Tarkovsky or Coppola, the more intuitive filmmakers, like Jean Vigo, would be like far more interested in how I felt rather than what I thought of their composition. I don't know if that makes any sort of sense. My channel's
No. I see.
love letters.
No, I see what you mean. It's good. Like you should strive for a balance, but you can also have your preferred go to mode, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's just I'm trying to provide an antidote because I feel that if too many of these kind of I don't want to say emotionless, but
Cold.
if we
It's kind
lose
of
the
like
heart
cold.
of if we lose the
Yeah.
heart of film criticism, then what's even the point anymore? Then if you can boil it down to a science, then I don't want any part of film. If you can boil all of film theory down to a science, then there's nothing dynamically becoming about a movie. They're all just static beings then. So I really like injecting my own emotionality in there. But like if you see my videos, I don't forsake technical components or compositional components. I always talk about them.
Well,
But normally, yeah.
technical components make you feel something.
Exactly. That's what I speak of them in reference to that. Most definitely. Like oh man, like yeah, I love talking about film criticism. How do you approach it? By the way, you bring the balance, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I have a few different types of videos, and maybe I'm still in the early stages, so I'm kind of experimenting with what I'm wanting to do. Um, I would say that I try to analyze like one specific theme that I see in a film for like each video, at least one specific theme. So like my shorter videos aren't just you know reviews, so we're just like, yeah, this movie is good. it had great cinematography, great acting, blah blah
Oh
blah.
yeah, I can't
I mean,
stand it.
I want to go a little more deeper than that. So like my Blair Witch Project video, but which I think is like my least viewed video. I don't know why. That's like the most popular film I've covered. but
You did Land
but
Before Time.
oh yeah, that's true. That's true. I did Land Before Time not too long ago.
And it was
But
good. Xenophobia and shit. That was fun. That was fun.
yeah. But I was saying, in my Blair Witch Project video, I don't just talk about like why no, this movie's good. I try to talk a bit more about its theme in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about how American society, so to speak, the idea of America protecting the kids becomes shattered ultimately, and society isn't actually there for them as much as they thought. I like how it begins in I think her name was Heather's house.
Yeah.
And then I mean, spoiler alert, it ends in a house. But it's like this juxtaposition is totally different, and I think it's great.
I love the Blair Witch Project.
And then for my longer videos, Blair Witch Project is brilliant, in my opinion. And actually, one thing that I personally, not to say that this is bad, but something I'm personally kind of starting to move away from in my videos is not just blank stating like this is a great film. In my opinion, it may be a great film, but I'd rather my audience kind of infer that on their own. So far I've only talked about films that I like, but I want people to think for themselves in a way. Like I'm saying, like I've said, like in my possession videos, I may have gone so in depth about this film, but I never tell people this is a great film, like objectively. You know what I mean?
Oh no, yeah. I definitely do that though. I definitely imbibe my videos with value judgments, but they're conversational. They're extremely conversational. And in the comments, if you scroll down, we're going back and forth, like talking about, I never speak in absolutes. Absolutely.
Yes, that's good. And I think that's one thing that a lot of maybe younger cinephiles and film critics, amateur film critics tend to do is think in absolutes, where it's like, okay, but there may be kind of some exception to the rule. Maybe there's another way to look at this thing, like this, like when it comes to films, like you may be able to approach it in one way, but you can approach it in many other ways, in my opinion. Like, and I'm like all for reading about criticism of films that I like a lot,
yeah.
I like to know why somebody doesn't like something, and then when I read about that or watch a video about that, that's interesting.
Oh, absolutely. Pauline Kael is one of my favorite critics of all time, and I have basically never agreed with any piece of writing that I've read of hers, but she blows my mind every time I read her work. She didn't even support auteur theory. Like, she was that different from me. And she's a fascinating writer to read, and then she's invaluable because she was so gifted. She's one of the top 5 film critics of all time. But I love reading ideas and critiques that run completely opposite to my own. I don't watch videos for confirmation bias or if I see a channel and they started off with like likes and dislikes, I'm like, I gotta tune out, man. You gotta frame this differently for me. I'm still trying to find my footing as well, but
that makes sense. I think what really did it for me was when I made a video on Freddy Got Fingered, which is 83 minutes of analysis. And for that video, I mean, for those who know about the film is like hated upon like ferociously. This is one of the few I guess somewhat mainstream films that I've covered. But in this video, I never once say this movie is good or this movie is bad. I talk about the film in depth, but people can decide for themselves, I want people to rethink about how they approach cinema, but not necessarily tell them you should do this, you know. But I don't have anything against like expressing like, oh, I really like this film, you know. I just yeah.
Oh no, I absolutely agree with you, and kind of, you know, admire that method. I think that just film criticism is just very important, and both respects are very important. The idea of letting your audience like decide for themselves, or the idea of like taking it from an impassioned stance.
Yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
always drawn to passion in film criticism. Like, even if
Yeah.
I'm reading something and it's obviously not from someone who's the most well-informed person in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but I can tell like their heart and their like soul is in this kind of like review. And you find a lot of that stuff on like Letterboxd, like with like 4 followers, and it's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my god, dude, like I love your passion. I'm drawn to passion. And
Yeah. Yeah. I think Letterboxd has quite a few good um has quite a few great reviews from just like the layman.
yeah,
And in fact, actually, like,
well, I think the
mo- I would say most of my shorter videos, like the ones that aren't like super in depth, like the Blair Witch Project one, that's pretty much like 90% just my letterbox review that I wrote quite a bit ago. My Battleship Potemkin review was on Letterbox at first. I think I might have expanded that just slightly, but yeah, that's how it usually goes.
almost all of my love letters are from Letterboxd if they're written. I've moved
Right.
away completely from written stuff though. I like doing kind of on the spot improv because I am all about that authenticity. I am about like
Right.
if I feel something, I want you to see it like in manifest. And like there's been so many videos. I do these things called ashtray chats and reviews now, where I'm sitting there and I figure out something in the moment. And like that's,
Right.
I don't know, to me that's really special to capture as well with film criticism. I don't know, trying to do
Mhm.
a little John Cassavetes way of doing film criticism of
Improv kind of
just
like
improv, kind of, exactly. Like I made a
yeah.
21-minute video about how much I love The Invitation, and as you're watching it, like I'm leaping through the entire spectrum of human emotionality, and it doesn't, to me that's a truthful review. Like the artist, like Karen Kusama directed that, and she bared her soul to me, and the least I can do in return is to like be as open and honest as she was with me
Right.
in my review of it. You know, it might sound like I'm taking my reviews too seriously, but it's kind of, you know, it's therapeutic in a way. I think that art is supposed to help you
Hmm.
and like move you, even if you don't like something. Like I didn't like certain things like Annihilation or Her, but like talking about them and like figuring out why you don't like something is
Right.
almost
Yeah.
equally as important. Because I mean, say you don't like a theme or a concept, right? What
Like a
about that
poet.
theme or a
Yeah. Yeah.
concept is so disagreeable to you, and you might find something out about yourself that you never
Mhm.
realized?
Yeah.
It's
And,
just
and
as
sometimes and
therapeutic.
sometimes with some films, it's like you could totally disagree with like a concept, a theme, you know, a political stance that the film is taking, but you can
Oh yeah.
still like admire the not only the craft behind it, but how
Oh,
they convey that
Howard, like
idea, where they're
Howard
coming
Hawks
from. Yeah.
immediately came to mind when you said that. Howard Hawks was like immediately came to mind when you said that. Like Rio Bravo, immediately. I love that
Mhm.
film, and that film is the most
I
pro-American, pro-McCarthy fucking film I've ever
uh-huh.
seen in my life, and it's brilliant. You know, not because I support the themes and the concepts and the messages, but because it's so brilliantly composed.
Well,
It is so
yeah,
expertly expressed.
yeah, and sometimes it's like you know those themes. It's like I think it's good to understand and kind of sympathize with themes that you even disagree with to some extent, because like you
Oh
can
yeah.
try to see like where people are coming from. You know?
Isn't that one of the main functions of art, to be introduced to different lifestyles, cultures, and ideologies that you have never
Right.
experienced before? Like,
Yeah.
and on one of my videos,
Well,
I believe
one of
like we
my
were talking about like Lenny Riefenstahl. I know that I'm saying that
oh,
name wrong,
yeah,
and
yeah. I've
but
had
that is
trouble
someone,
pronouncing things. Yeah.
but that is truly someone that does have a talent. That talent is very
Right.
dangerous and scary. But I would, I
The
pity
way
the
that's
day that
used, yeah.
I pity the day that Triumph of the Will isn't shown in film schools anymore. Like, I pity the day that D.W. Griffith's Intolerance: A Birth of a Nation isn't shown anymore, because those films are incredibly well composed.
I like Griffith actually too. Yeah,
I love Intolerance. Intolerance. I remember I watched Intolerance for the first time the day after I watched Cloud Atlas. This might sound like a false equivalency, but hear me out.
No. They're actually similar in my opinion.
They're incredibly similar. Only DW's is even more insane, because those are all stories from different time periods and settings. But one of them is Jesus Christ as well.
Well, one was made almost 100 years later, though. Keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
And it's well, also they both kind of take this, I would say, centrist approach in a way, like politically. Like
DW was almost. I'm Jewish, and I still take offense to quite a bit of Intolerance. But I believe that was his kind of like pseudo apology for some of the backlash he received off Birth of a Nation. So he wanted to make a film about the intolerance of hatred.
Kind of back. If I'm not mistaken, it's kind of backhanded in a way.
It was. Yeah. DW was awful. He was completely awful. But I made something else that I don't quite like is that like I get shit on a lot for liking specific problematic directors and things like that. But I will never stop talking about how much I love like Roman Polanski, for instance. We won't go into him too much here because I don't want like, too much hate. But like I don't want my artists, I don't want my artists to be safe, and D.W. Griffith is a really good example of this.
Right,
awful human being. I would slap the shit out of D.W. Griffith if I ever met him.
I actually may make a video evaluating his politics sometime.
That would be good, but
I find him extremely interesting. But at the same time, problematic.
He's had so many wonderful films. Film would not be what it is today without D.W. Griffith or Cecil B. DeMille, and like these people were tyrants. These people were very difficult. D.W. Griffith probably the worst out of all of them, but still.
Well, I mean, Leni Riefenstahl also. I mean, she's.
Well, she wasn't like a violent filmmaker. I meant.
I mean, I mean, I know. Well, first of all, I know what you mean, but at the same time, like, I mean, both films eventually were used as propaganda.
I think cinema would have been just fine without Leni Riefenstahl, but I don't think cinema would have been just fine without DW. I think it would have caught on, but like in 1915, dude, he made Birth of the Nation. Like he propelled the trajectory of film like pretty fast, really quick. Yeah, and I know I'm saying that from a perspective of privilege because that movie has never been shown. As propaganda against my own people kind of idea. Whereas I guess maybe I am more harsh on Lenny, and it is showing.
I can see that. I mean, like, but I mean, like, even like Triumph of the Will, like, like so a lot of that imagery is in Star Wars. I mean,
yes,
which is interesting to think, both on a, both for the Imperials and the Rebels, like they kind of borrowed imagery from that, which I find fascinating. But that's how films evolve, though. They take films, from they take from older things, and then
Why do you love film? Like, when did you fall in love with film? Was there a specific movie? Do you remember?
I remember. Well, see that's a loaded question. Because it is. There were different periods of my life where I became more interested in films, if that makes sense. Like I remember, I don't know how old I was, maybe like 5 or something. When I first watched the first Toy Story, at that time it was like before 2000. I know that for sure. So there were a couple like what do you call it? CGI, computer generated. Animated films, but Toy Story was like the first one. I think that was the first one that I saw, and not only was it. And I remember when I was younger, I was like, "Whoa, this is." And I was just a little kid, but after I watched that movie, every time I would play with toys or play with my brothers, I would think in my head, "This is a draft for a movie I want to make someday." I mean, and then it was consistent like that. And I think when I got a little older, of course I kind of started liking things like Christopher Nolan and his films, and Quentin Tarantino, David Fincher, kind of like the normal film bro kind of films.
Oh
And
yeah.
not to say that they're bad. I like quite a few of them.
Oh no, I'll still go to battle for Quentin Tarantino any day of the week, man. I love that guy.
I like Pulp Fiction especially is the movie
Pulp
that I
Fiction is
really
what
like.
turned me into a cinephile, what changed me from which makes me unique in no way at all, but makes that film that like, oh man, that is a really magical film. It still continues to turn people into cinephiles.
And Pan's Labyrinth was another one for me that kind of got me into.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Foreign films. I mean, I think as I get older, I like it a little bit less than I used to. But I mean, it's still it's a landmark film for me, I think.
Oh no, Pan's Labyrinth is a fucking brilliant movie.
I really like it.
Film. Oh god, they're that's the Guillermo I.
I haven't been too big on a lot of his other films personally, but
no, I'm into The Devil's Backbone and Pan's Labyrinth. It's really hard for me to swallow his other films. He kind of gets lost in his own influences, which is fine, but he doesn't do it in a Tarantino way. He's not constantly reinventing his own influences, which makes kind of Tarantino quirky and unique in that respect.
So then it was then I think for me also it was Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal. That's what I just graduated high school, and I watched that film, and I knew about it for a while, and I kind of wanted to watch it, but when I watched it, it was at that point I told myself, okay, I'm gonna watch every film now. I guess when I was younger, I thought, I knew that there were good foreign films out there, but I didn't realize how good they could be, and how impactful they could be. I still haven't made a video on Seventh Seal, but I feel like a lot of people have done that.
Oh, I haven't made a video on Seventh Seal.
Yeah, that's I mean, I still think that's a great film. I think I like I mean, Ingmar Bergman has many great films, so I mean, I like a lot of them. I started getting into him.
Yeah, Cries and Whispers is my favorite one. One of my favorite films of all time, actually. It's fantastic. I have videos on Cries and Whispers and Persona so far, but I want to get one up on Fanny and Alexander.
Persona, I've been actually, I started making a video on Persona. I used my Letterboxd review, but I stopped it because in the middle I was like, you know what? I feel like I want to make a full analysis of this sometime, so I'm going to push this aside for now. So after there's Ingmar Bergman, I also started getting into like Andrei Tarkovsky also. What got me into silent cinema was Battleship Potemkin. I remember I saw that out at my library, and I go into this in my video. Like when I watched that movie, first I thought it was kind of cute, silent film, like this movie like 90 years old, like all right. And then I was like, whoa, this is brutal. And then I realized whoa, this is insane. I think if I remember right, I even teared up in that film. It's I was really moved by it, and I think I kind of expressed that in my video also, which is one of the reasons I made that video was because I wanted to talk about not only the film but also my experience with the film. Like people talk about that people talk about that Odessa step sequences to death, but they don't talk. But a lot of times people don't talk about what the impact that can have on the viewer, and
that's what I was talking about earlier. I feel like it's too cold or too academic and misses that visceral impact of it, because the Odessa staircase sequence is brilliant. But if I read a piece of criticism or watch a video and they are simply just telling me.
Or showing you.
Telling me the results of juxtaposing images like that and how it works, kind of thing. You telling me what it made you feel, then I feel like it's a failed criticism. I do. I feel like it's inauthentic criticism. Come on, it's one of the most visceral scenes ever filmed. If not the most visceral.
Yeah, I mean, And a lot of times, I mean, I think film classes. I mean, I could be wrong here. I'm sure that plenty of film classes will show the whole film, but I know a lot of film classes will just show that sequence. And where I feel like, okay, well, I would rather have viewers, actually have a feeling of it in context. Even though my video actually does show the clip or part of it at least, which is a little ironic when I say that. Yeah, but the difference there is that they're not just showing the context. It's now in the context of me saying what the whole film means and what this scene means surrounding all that to me, and that's what I wanted to. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to express to it. But I also at the same time wanted to express that this how good the movie is.
Exactly, and you strive for that balance, and you do it pretty damn well. Silent cinema is one of my favorite eras of film, but I think the one that made me fall in love with it completely was probably Pandora's Box. That was probably it.
Yeah, I actually saw that for the first time this year. It was pretty good.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. The way that Pabst directed his Lulu, it's fantastic. The way he found his muse kind of idea. Jesus. Do you have like a favorite decade of film?
Oh gosh, that's hard to say. I'm actually still kind of behind on 1930s and 40s cinema, so keep that in mind. But I like almost everything I've seen from there. I would say probably the 1960s and 70s, but honestly, like even like the new millennium, like there's been a lot of great films. Like, I mean, I think like I have a favorites list on Letterboxd. I think like a good chunk of them is an expansive list. I think a good chunk of them come from the 70s and 60s though. They're just like, like that's following the French New Wave. Hollywood became like way better in my opinion, like more dynamic. They were now telling the stories that they've been wanting to tell. They don't have that same censorship laws. I mean, sure, there's some things that are censored, sure, but like they're more wild. Like Coppola came out like with like in the 70s with The Godfather Part 2. The conversation was the same. Yeah. I think Conversation was the same year as Godfather 2, if I'm not mistaken.
It was,
and then Apocalypse Now, and then not to mention that, but also like the 70s also in Hollywood. The 70s also had Star Wars and Jaws. Those are two monumental films. Like even if you're not big on those two films, like they have a huge impact.
Like same with Rocky. Even like the 70s was on fire. They were on fire, and Scorsese, De Palma, Cassavetes, everybody coming into their own in that decade. It was insanity. And then Terrence Malick coming into his own in the 70s.
Oh yeah, and then in the 60s, of course, like the French New Wave, and then also the underrated Japanese New Wave. I mean, like it was
absolutely. No, the Italians were on fire. Antonioni and Fellini made their best work in the 60s.
Right.
Jesus,
and then,
wow.
Not to mention Kubrick, made 2001: Space Odyssey.
Ever, yeah.
And then follow that up with
every single decade has its gems.
And you follow that up with Clockwork Orange. And no, I mean, I think every year has its gems, honestly. I don't know if I've found all of them from last year, though, but I'm pretty confident in saying that, like, every year there's great films that are made. But here's a question for you. Do you think that film is evolving positively or devolving, like, negatively?
For the longest time, I thought they were devolving completely. For the longest time. And only recently have I started to turn around, and it's thanks to films that slid under my radar, like The Invitation, or even like Hereditary. I thought was pretty brilliant.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one, but
I thought it lived up to the hype. I thought it was really, really brilliant. And The Invitation is one of my new favorite films ever made. I thought they were devolving for the longest time. I thought that almost like in a sense that philosophy is almost evolving. because I felt like, okay, where do you go after Tarantino? Where do you go after the Coens when they come
Better.
around and where they deconstruct everything, where they deconstruct every possible idea of film down to almost like a self-referential joke of itself. Like you have to build on top of that in a way, and I think it just took people a while, like at least a decade, to figure out how to build on top of Pulp Fiction when Pulp Fiction comes around and obliterates everything.
Yeah, I think maybe it's fair to say, maybe I'm wrong here, but maybe it's fair to say that Hollywood may be devolving. Even though, you mentioned, Hereditary, you like that. But like, I mean, like you don't have
oh yeah, Hollywood's devolving completely. I mean, but we could thank Jaws for that. We could thank Spielberg's design of the blockbuster tentpole film, and yeah, our world. Disney monopolizes every conversation that could possibly be had about pop.
Well, that's not the only thing they monopolize.
No, yeah, exactly. No, absolutely, but we do get Hollywood's devolving, but luckily we do get people coming around. I do credit people like Sofia Coppola, people like Kaufman or Spike Jonze even, with figuring out how to build on top of postmodernism.
Right.
Greg Araki and Quentin Tarantino and all them came around and like really reinvented the wheel. Even Wong Kar-wai, I would credit a lot with reinventing the wheel and figuring out how to build on top of something that's deconstructed to its base essentials. I mean, it's really hard to build after you've deconstructed an entire art form. And luckily, I think that we're completely on top of it now in a way. I don't know. I'm still really worried about modern film, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, I think that with the age of the internet, and I know that some film conservatives may not like this idea, but now anybody, and I think Scorsese doesn't like this idea, and I think Spielberg also, but now anybody can make a film, really,
Yeah.
And they don't need to distribute it like through theaters or festivals necessarily either. They can put it online. They can go viral. I mean, people will think that those are lesser films, but I don't know. I mean, I think with the internet, like there's gonna come like a whole new wave of filmmakers potentially. I made this one video on a film I really liked from last year. Called The Forgotten Killers of Dreams, but like nobody knows about this film, but I saw it, and it's like by like somebody that nobody knows about, and I mean, and I think that there's a lot of talent and potential that will come about from the internet.
I have to agree with you.
I don't know if we've reached like a point where it's coming, all at once, but I feel like we're gonna get there eventually.
We're gonna get there. Dinosaurs will die, and this is the new wave. And I absolutely agree with you there as well. Yeah, film's gonna take a really interesting direction in the next 10 years. I really do feel that way.
And then, of course, that also reflects society, and society may be taking a weird direction too. So.
Oh yeah. The question. Life imitates art, art imitates life. What's really devolving, society or film or both?
Yeah, I mean,
or evolving, like you said. I think that that art belongs in the hands of the people. That there are no arbiters of art.
Well, yeah, I think maybe now, like it's going to start becoming where it's like, art really is in the hands of the layman. And it's the layman that's going to eventually start making the art, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, and it belongs to the layman. I think
Yeah.
that perspective is sadly lost. I mean, you can tell when a film is made by someone who doesn't really have like formal education in film, and then those films tend to be the ones that kind of change the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
I mean, I hate to bring up Tarantino for the 1500th time, but you know, he famously didn't go to film school. He worked at a video store.
Yeah, I think the quote was, "I didn't go to film school. I went to film." I mean,
Exactly.
that's one way to. I mean, that if that works for him, that's fine. I do think that maybe for some people they can find value in film school, just depending on what exactly their gain is.
Oh no, yeah,
I
we
think,
brought up Scorsese too, and like Spike
yeah,
Lee and all sorts of people.
George Lucas, I think went to school also.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely, but I don't know. We need
and,
something wild. We need something a bit different. I don't think we're becoming complacent in films.
well, maybe. I mean, when I'm saying we, I mean like Western society specifically. Um, I think maybe we are kind of becoming complacent in the sense that like a lot of people will just take whatever mediocre factory formulated test group approved you know
yeah.
block mediocre blockbuster that comes out. At least that's my opinion. Uh,
Oh, I'm really unsure if I was you know, if I was like 13 years old right now, I'm really unsure if I would be a cinephile based on the
okay.
modern films that come out and the ones that tend to monopolize conversations. I would.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to me. It's hard for me to relate to. I don't want to go into Marvel movies or anything like that, but
I mean,
those
we
films
can.
truly. We definitely can if we want to talk about a formula cannibalizing itself successfully
Yeah.
for the last decade with really no pushback whatsoever. In fact, they just keep becoming more and more successful.
Uh-huh.
And that is genuinely terrifying. And I really don't. Because that's the standard for maximum success. I don't. What are your feelings, man? Take it away on that.
On what exactly? I mean,
Oh
like
God.
the whole. I mean, maybe it's also just. I think a lot of it has to do with the way that the internet has a place in society, also, where people are now communicating with each other what they like, what they don't like. I don't. I think before Hollywood may have had more like creative liberties with things because they, I don't know, like they didn't know exactly what people wanted. I think it's part of it. And now they know exactly what they want, and they'll give them that. They won't. There's less of a challenge there, I guess. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Not to say that there aren't challenging films, that there aren't auteurs nowadays. I think there are. It's just that they're less easy to come by. But at the same time, maybe there's always been kind of some mediocre output from Hollywood. That there's just
Maybe.
that over time they just kind of got swept under the rug. I don't know.
Oh no, yeah. No, I absolutely agree with that, man. Oh God. No, there are still definitely auteurs today. Um, for every Marvel movie, there's an A24 film that's at least interesting to watch.
Yeah, A20. Yeah, I mean A24. I think in some ways is a little overrated, but like they do have quite a few good films in their
But I
catalog, in
would
my
agree
opinion.
with you if I didn't see it as like the proper alternative to Marvel, like the only
Okay,
possible
okay, yeah, I can see that. I can see that then.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like I appreciate that company for being there consistently like that. I think it's the only thing turning kids into cinephiles these days. True cinephiles.
well, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I mean, like it's giving people kind of a look at things. You know, it's giving them kind of new films to appreciate it. I mean, A24 is mainstream to some
It
extent,
is,
and
yeah.
it's like now people are like, oh, this is interesting. This film by this film like a film like The Florida Project or The Witch,
Yeah.
or Spring Breakers, Ex Machina. Like regardless of what somebody thinks about it, those films still offer something.
I think
Uh,
they're great gateways. I mean, you go from The
right.
Witch, you read one piece of critique about it, and then you watch a Bergman film because most likely they're going to talk about the Bergman influence.
And then from Bergman, you watch Tarkovsky. And then from there, you may watch something like Fellini, and then from Fellini, you may watch Pasolini, and then from Pasolini, you watch my channel.
That's right. Yeah, you have a huge fucking video about Salo.
Yeah,
how do you say it, my friend?
Well, okay, so there's a story behind that. In my video, I say Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom, infamous movie, but it's pronounced, I guess it's Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom. I pronounced it correctly like for years of my life. I right before I recorded that video, I watched somebody else's video and he said Salo. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's Salo, no big deal. I recorded it, it's Salo. I uploaded it, and next thing I knew, people were telling me that I got it wrong. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I got it right in the first time. And then randomly,
which wouldn't be such a big deal if that video didn't blow up. Like,
yeah, I mean, compared to everything else, like that, I was not expecting that video to do as well as it did. My videos would rake in maybe 100 views, if I'm lucky at that time, and which wasn't a big deal for me. I mean, like I was totally fine to be under the radar. I mean, I'm still under the radar, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, this video will probably do better than some of my videos because I was covering things like Shuji Terayama's Butterfly, which is a short film it's a back catalog short film by a director that isn't even that famous to begin with, at least in the mainstream. And so I was like, Salo is one of the bigger films that I'm going to cover. And a lot of people still don't know about that film. It's like art house, political, communist cinema,
Yeah.
But so many people know about it from like most disturbing movie list.
Exactly.
And so I released that video in late September, and it was doing all right. That's pretty good. I mean, the script was from a Letterboxd review that I wrote that was kind of passionate. So I was like, let me just turn this into a video for filler.
Those are the ones that blow up, I hear.
Yeah, it was for filler, and in late September, it was doing all right. October 1st, suddenly, October is like horror month. People are searching most disturbing films. They find Salo on the towards the top of every single list, and they're like, "What is this movie? Let me go look it up on YouTube." And they see my video. It says Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom, is beautiful. I was making an argument. And suddenly, like throughout October, my views skyrocketed. I was like, what on earth is going on? But I'm pretty sure that's why. And then from there, it's managed to stay on the algorithm. I still rake in, views for it. I think I have like almost 300,000 right now views on that.
That is
video.
Insane, dude. That is insane.
I mean, it's weird. It's weird. It's really, honestly, when that happened, when that video. I mean, honestly, there are many videos online like that get millions of views, and I get that. But all relatively speaking, this is my first really successful video. I think at least like a couple weeks ago, if you type in just Salo on Google, my video comes up quickly, which is crazy to think for me. Does it right now? I don't know. It came up pretty quickly, just for Salo.
You're an authority on sodomy now, sir.
And oh my goodness, that's one way to put it. Which kind of annoys me because I think it's actually my most overrated video. I think it has a good script. I just don't care for the execution. Also, there was an audio problem. There wasn't a problem for me, but I guess they edited with the volume too far up. So when I uploaded it, I guess the volume was lower for some people, which is a shame, I guess, especially considering it's my most viewed video. But when that video started going relatively viral. I didn't know. I had like some, I guess, kind of like stage fright in a way. Like. I mean, I wasn't gonna delete the video, of course, but I was just like, or even privatize it. But I was like feeling kind of like a little anxious about it. Like this many, like 100 people are watching me within the last 60 minutes. What on earth is going on? But the video is still doing pretty well. My other videos
I think your videos have just gotten better since then.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm improving in quality. I kind of wish like more people would watch like my Freddy Got Fingered video, considering it took me forever to make that one. What did you think of that video? Because I know that you saw that one.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was I thought it was pretty good, man. A lot of work put into it. Yeah. You actually have like editing capabilities, and shit, man, I'm jealous of them. That is a well put together video.
Yeah, somebody I know said that it was like one of the best video essays that they had seen. I'm like, oh, okay, well, thanks. Well, it's like first I thought like, okay, this movie is kind of interesting. Let me kind of make an argument that it's good without actually making an argument that it's good. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense.
And then I'm like, okay, I had this, so I'm analyzing the character. There's a lot going on here, so I'll analyze this. Then I'm like, well, I also want to talk about the Oedipal complex, like with Freudian themes. That's like definitely in the film. And then it's like, oh well, there's more interesting stuff about like, Tom Green and how he uses comedy as like a coping mechanism, and then like, about his cancer and all that. And it's like so many interesting things. I decided I'm just gonna make one long video. Because I don't want a bunch of Freddy Got Fingered videos on my channel, I'm just it's just one long thing, and it did pretty well. I think, I don't know if I would say that's my best video. I think my two possession videos are maybe one of my strongest stuff. When it comes to analysis,
those are fucking top notch, man. And people are interested in possession now. That surprised me how much interest there was out there in possession.
Well, I mean, I noticed that quite a few of my viewers come from Poland, actually, which doesn't surprise me too much. Which is like okay, and then I looked at the analytics for that. But I mean, I think it's still predominantly United States. But I think that film shows up also in quite a few lists of like what do you call it? Like crazy films, like underrated films. You look at an IMDb list. It's like something like films you never heard of. Mm-hmm. I think it may start having more of a resurgence, and it's interesting to know that like that Possession and Solo or the 120 Days of Sodom, both of those films are becoming slowly they're becoming associated with me, with my channel. And that is, it's a crazy thought, but it's like, I'll take it though. And maybe that will happen once I start covering, once I make more videos. Yeah. But I think,
man, you're the sodomy and homoeroticism and possession guy.
I guess so.
But that's a good rap though.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. I mean, but honestly, when I make videos, and this kind of goes back to my approach, I don't really do it. I don't do it for the views, I don't do it for the. I mean, it's like if I make a film, if I make a video on a film, yeah, sure, I want people that are interested in possession to watch my possession video,
Yeah.
But like some guy at a gas station or something, like I don't care, I mean, like I don't want to make clickbait. No. Maybe I'll make clickbait for like possession fans, sure, but like only that niche audience. And I think I'm pulling in some people from different niches, like Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol fans are starting to follow me. And then,
the motto of my channel is rather be forgotten than remembered for giving in. And I just I've never cared about getting views on videos. I really should, because it kind of shows.
Well, yeah, I mean, like for example, like I said earlier, I'm gonna end up covering Watchmen before long, but it's like I want to, if I'm covering a mainstream film, it's gonna be a mainstream film that I want to talk about, not like
it's got to be from a different perspective. It's got to
be
yes,
that's the thing. I want to bring some new perspective to it, So yeah, I mean, it's like if somebody says like, let's just say, if somebody says like The Dark Knight or something is like the best film ever made, it's like I'm gonna be like, okay, compare. What else have you seen though?
Yeah.
Now, if somebody says that and they also are consuming things like Ingmar Bergman or Jean-Luc Godard, I would be more interested in hearing what they have to say. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. It's just like, I think
or an elitist way. That's something I had to deal with for like a while. Is like I started off my channel talking about kind of impenetrable, more art house films. I've kind of broadened it since then, not to be more accessible, but I don't know, not even to be a bit more inclusive. I see no difference for me with covering Commando and then covering fucking Stalker personally.
Yeah, I mean,
approach it with integrity.
I haven't seen Commando, but yeah, I think I get what you're saying.
You can just imagine it's just Arnold Schwarzenegger with his shirt off.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, isn't that interesting though? Like I'm watching like these films, but I barely know anything about like these blockbusters, of the '80s and so on. I don't know. I mean, but taste also. I mean, I may like it. Who knows? But taste comes with. I think taste is dependent on, not dependent, but taste. Like somebody's taste is somebody's taste, but that taste grows the more you consume. I don't mean this in a cynical way, but the more that you consume media, like the more that you consume art. I mean, it's like if somebody like only watches like a couple films a year, or and that's fine. I mean, not everybody's going to be interested in movies. Just like I'm not interested in video games like whatsoever. But I'm not going to. So I'm not gonna. So if I have bad taste in video games, I don't care. That's
if
how
you make
it goes.
A grand statement like that is equivalent to The Dark Knight is the greatest superhero movie ever made, and you're like,
right?
Statement like,
it's like based on
Super Mario 2 is the greatest video game ever made. I've played 3 of them.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, yeah, and that's the thing that people have to take into consideration. I mean, I don't want to be elitist. Also, I don't.
No.
At least not too much.
Really inclusive language.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think one mistake I make sometimes with some of my videos is I will say a director's name without actually saying that they directed the film. Like for my Sallow video, I mean, it doesn't matter on Letterboxd because it's on Letterboxd, and you just scroll up and you can see the director's name. But like for my Sallow video, I said Piero Pasolini was a smart man. But I don't say that he directed. I didn't. Well, I did say he directed the film, but I don't say it automatically though. It's like, well, wait, who's he? And then in my Stalker video, I said compare it to Eisenstein, and then people are gonna be like, who's Eisenstein? But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like, but also maybe they're like, wait, who's this? I need to know who this is, and then they look them up.
Yeah, that would be like what you would hope would happen.
Right, but I think I got a comment on my Solo video that somebody said, "I'm so confused. What is this film about?"
My god!
It's like I feel bad a little bit. It's like, but I don't think that it's my maybe I have to rethink this and be a little more perspective. But maybe I don't know if it's my
I've never done like a traditional interview. I'm sorry, a traditional like review or anything where I've never talked about the plot of a movie in one of my things. Like I've never gone in like, and that's how the more popular YouTubers do it. They start it right off with 5 minutes of fucking plot and then 2 minutes of like opinion and criticism.
Sometimes I do a little bit of synopsis, but like I feel like
a little bit,
but
not like.
Personally, I don't think it's my responsibility to summarize a movie. Like in my video for Butterfly, which I mentioned earlier, you know, it's a short film. I summarize what happens in it before going back and saying, so this is what happens, and then this is how it happens. This is what it's saying. Like sometimes I feel like summary is good. My Freddy Got Fingered video, I don't summarize the movie. Maybe I do. It's pretty long, but you understand exactly what happens in the movie because I go through pretty much everything.
Well, yeah, sometimes summary is important within the context of composition,
right.
Emotionality, and like concepts. But most YouTubers just jump right into the plot, and I'm supposed to be impressed that they can recite their memory. They just recall what they watched.
I recited Empire though.
Well, yeah, that's impossible not to do. And the style is the substance of that. Mm-hmm. Oh my god! But no, yeah. So I think when people do come to my channel and they click on an ashtray review or one of my long form like analysis videos, like you know, they might be thrown off that I don't jump into a summary right away for 10 minutes. If my review is 10 minutes long, then it's 10 minutes of exactly what I thought of the composition, exactly how it made me feel.
So sometimes for me, I don't even think about summarizing. It's like, why do I need to do that? I also never have spoiler warnings in my videos.
I've started doing those. I've never been called out for it. Though.
I'm not. I'm not. Like I don't. Personally, I've never really cared too much about spoilers. Generally speaking, myself.
No, like I'm with you. Like on like the whole idea of style is substance, right? Like, you can tell me all of the narrative and like plot points of a movie, and if I watch it and I'm still not impressed by it because it was spoiled or something, then the film definitely failed for me. Because I know that there's a whole nother level that I haven't been spoiled by, like how it's expressed is far more important to me than what it's expressing.
But at the same time, there's some examples like The Empire Strikes Back. Like if somehow you don't know the plot twist, it's like it may ruin your experience a little bit, you know. If somebody spoils it, I mean, but beyond like,
I mean, I agree, but like, if you knew that Darth Vader was Luke's father, and you still didn't like The Empire Strikes Back, then that's like a much bigger problem. Like, if you already knew that spoiler and then you didn't like,
that's a reason you don't. Yeah, like that's a reason.
Like, that'd be insanity.
I actually watched Empire Strikes Back with somebody that didn't know the plot twist. Believe it or not.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
No. She came from another country though. Like she was an international student, and like Star Wars just wasn't big there. Like,
no.
And it was like it was an experience, and from that experience, I realized like that script is pretty good in my opinion. But it's not just the script; it's everything else, you know, going into it. And I'm not saying that as like you have to like Star Wars, and that's not the case at all. It's just like there's a lot going on, you know.
Oh no, absolutely. I've started doing spoilers, but not like I'm starting to do like actual reviews now, as opposed to like if someone clicked on an hour long video like analyzing Solaris.
Right.
I would hope that they had seen the movie already before clicking on it. It's not my responsibility.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean that's the thing when it comes to it's ultimately what you want to do. That's kind of what YouTube is about, in my opinion.
Exactly.
It's like, but I think there comes a point where if you have a big enough audience, you should, if you say something problematic, and then they parrot that you may be somewhat responsible. Does that make sense? Like,
oh no, that makes sense. I wasn't like
yeah,
implying
yeah, yeah.
that
I know.
you don't have
Yeah.
responsibility
I
over
know.
your
But
audience. Just
right.
spoiler
Yeah.
warnings.
Mhm.
Spoiler warnings are different than saying that Captain Marvel's a woman in that movie. That's totally different.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's that great Marvel movie discourse, man. That's what we've been living in. Fuck it.
Yeah. Do you want to get into that, Marvel?
We've been tiptoeing around it, man.
Yeah, let's discuss Marvel, and keep in mind I have not seen like half of the films. And when I'm saying
Well,
Marvel,
same.
when I'm saying Marvel, I mean for the viewers, I'm talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not anything based on Marvel Comics. So that doesn't include Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, which I like quite a bit. And then
It doesn't include.
it doesn't count X-Men and Deadpool, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't
Okay.
include Logan, which I loved. I thought Logan was amazing.
Yeah.
Because the that's about how the superhero genre needs to die with some sort of integrity or else it's just going to be a fucking.
I think M. Night Shyamalan's Glass kind of did that same thing also. Well, I mean, like differently, of course, but yeah. So Marvel, what do you think of their films specifically, and the grander context of them?
Man, I don't think a whole lot of their films. I think their films are actually pretty dangerous, pretty bad for the modern moviegoer.
How so? I'm curious about this. I'm not saying I don't disagree.
Well, we were talking about formulas that cannibalize themselves. We are now impressed simply by a spectacle, simply by how many cans of Pepsi you can fit into one small refrigerator. We are now just completely in tune with the idea that this film doesn't have to end, that this film just connects to a larger universe. But that larger universe is just selling you a product. It's not actually selling you
that. And that product also, no, I'm not saying fully, but in part is also a commercial for the next product.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was implying there. And also at the same time, this superhero genre craze is very, very scary because I mean we brought up Nolan earlier, and I think that he was the only one who kind of did it like, and actually Snyder did this in Watchmen. So they both had balls, and they both.
Yeah,
superhero films in essence have to be conservative propaganda in a way. They have to be because they're about vigilantes who cannot trust the government. That's what they are about.
Right.
And this craze, this weird kind of antidote for our modern world, the fact that it stayed popular for the last 10, 12 years, to me is really frightening.
Like it's a. Yeah. I mean, that's how it is. And also, it's like the films themselves, I feel like, are actually, I mean, not completely, but I feel like the quality of these films, personally, I think that they're declining. They're becoming more and more safe, more and more formulated, more and more generic, I guess.
Oh no, but people don't seem to mind because somehow Disney has tricked us into like Pavlov's dogs, right? Like it's tricked us into coming every time they ring the bell, and it's the same goddamn thing every time. But,
yeah, just like.
And so in that way, it even dilutes the summer blockbuster. Summer blockbusters used to be something interesting, at least. Even Armageddon was something you had to like see. It was something fucking just bonkers.
Yeah.
Now it's the sameness, which doesn't make sense to me in the modern age. I would think that there's so many. Yeah, go on.
And then there's also competition with it, like like with the. I guess some of Fox's newer X-Men films, at least before they were bought out, of course. And then
who were they bought out by again? Or is it Disney?
Disney bought Fox. I think like about like at least 90% of Fox. I think like some of the channels or in sports or something.
And that should be completely damaging and completely petrifying, but all I see are memes about Ellen Ripley being a fucking Disney princess now. It's like, no, this is fucking terrifying. This is awful.
I think like the counter argument is that, and I'm not like a financial guru or anything like that, so keep in mind that maybe I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but from my understanding also, people's argument is that Fox is only like losing money over time, and they in order to save themselves from bankruptcy and a bunch of other job losses, it's actually beneficial that that Disney buys them out, even though there's still job losses. But the thing is, I think that maybe that financial state, that financial decline of the company wouldn't really have happened in the same way if it weren't for Disney already.
Exactly.
That's what I think. But like I said, I have not really researched this, so keep that in mind.
The Marvel idea, Disney scares me, but not as much as the concept, is the fact that superhero movies are still so in vogue after 10 years because of what superhero movies imply. Like when you're going to see one, like, oh my god, it's scary that people still need superheroes, or still need to see themselves as superheroes, or still need to escape this fucking much and this deeply into such like an extended universe. Like that's how much you have to escape from modern reality. Like
it's like, I mean, let's try to play devil's advocate, and try to understand where it's come from. I think a lot of people just like escapism, right? Like they like to they like the idea of superheroes. They like the idea of heroes. They like the idea, what they represent, I guess. And maybe people don't always want to think too much about maybe the more dare I say quasi-fascist political leanings that kind of superheroes imply.
They have to, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they remove themselves from that, and that's how it goes. But
that's what I thought was brave about like The Dark Knight and Watchmen, is that like they went directly into political themes. The end of The Dark Knight is fascist propaganda, and it knows that it is. It knows it.
Well, I mean, personally, I think I think Dark Knight is a little more nuanced. But yeah, I get what you're saying, and I'm glad that you also bring Watchmen up, because like I know that you don't like that film, but you can at least kind of, that's a good point, that you can at least see like, well, this is actually doing something,
Oh yeah, well, Zack Snyder seems to be like really
I think
the conservative context. Isn't he making like Atlas Shrugged into a movie or something? No, he's making.
No, I think it's Fountainhead. Fountainhead. Yeah, or he wants to. He wants to, anyways.
He seems to be well versed in conservative philosophy,
objectivism. Yeah, and that's interesting to me. Have you seen Black Panther?
I have seen Black Panther. Yeah,
I did not like that film like at all, and I'm not saying like I'm like a geopolitical expert or anything, but I actually found its politics kind of concerning.
Yes, very concerning. That was our hero.
Well, also, like if you think about it, it's like you don't really see, like, I think the villain is probably the strongest part of that movie.
I think kind of people hopefully agree.
Yeah, and people are always like Wakanda forever, but the theme of the movie isn't Wakanda forever. The theme of the movie is like, it's almost like saying that these African traditions, like they may be good and all, but it's time to move past that. It's saying that we need to, Africa needs to, this African country, I mean, this fictional Wakanda needs to be more like America. That is just weird. And then like they had to add like this I'm ranting here. They had to add like this white savior in the form of, I don't know if he was FBI or CIA, I can't remember, but Martin Freeman's
Freeman character.
Yeah, it's like he's driving that plane, or that spaceship or whatever it was. I saw it once. I can't remember, and I really don't care to see it again. But it's like they had to add him, didn't they? Like that way, like it's just like I don't know. From what I remember, I think the character's name was T'Challa. I think. Yeah. So T'Challa is defeated by Killmonger in the traditional tribal fight, and then Killmonger, unless I missed something, Killmonger rightfully becomes king.
He does rightfully become king.
Yeah, I think so. He doesn't cheat the battle. I think T'Challa just didn't die, but he was assumed dead, and then the people turn on him for wanting to make the country better or something. I mean, I'm not saying that I agree. I'm not saying I agree with everything Killmonger was saying. I'm not saying that. It's just like I don't know what I don't know what they were thinking with that movie, and it's alarming that people are
like even Civil War has this like false dichotomy like kind of argument. Is it? I don't believe it's deliberate. I just believe that it's completely irresponsible.
It is passive and irresponsible, and that's actually. I'll get back to Civil War, but that's actually kind of how I see D.W. Griffith's films in a way. I think that like they're just I'm not so sure how much he agrees with his own politics of his film.
Well, the thing is, we can put aside somehow D.W. Griffith's politics and talk for hours about his composition. We cannot do that with Black Panther. We cannot do that with Civil War. There is nothing that, if you're going to talk about concepts, that's it.
Well, I mean, like for me at least, like I'm not. I don't like to. Again, I don't like to think in absolutes. So maybe there's something there that people see.
Okay, there's something there too. I'm actually, I'm a Joss Whedon fan, actually.
Really interesting.
Yes,
I am not. I've never seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I've never. Age of Ultron?
No, I didn't actually.
I saw really good color theory, like part of composition of that film, and it's the only film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that I've seen have like even an idea of visual sophistication.
I think the second Guardians of the Galaxy kind of had something going on for that. I not like that. Yeah, I didn't like that movie, but I think it had something going on at least.
I haven't seen a Guardians movie, so.
Yeah, I'm not big on them personally. I think, but
I've seen enough T-shirts, man. These people are selling personalities to people. I don't know. They're not. Oh my god, it's scary as fuck. Because even the awful action movie craze with Arnold and Jean-Claude and Bruce Willis, even that had more like a variant to me.
At least the action was good in those.
The action was good. Welcome. Yeah, jumping up every once in a while to make one. Yeah, sure. And also, some of these people were fighting like within the context of like it was more politically different. It was varied in every single way. Different directors taking on different action movies in the 80s and 90s, different interesting. Whereas here, I guess Thor Ragnarok had an interesting director behind it. Don't remember his goddamn name, but the dude who did
Waititi, I think. I haven't seen.
Thank you.
I haven't seen Ragnarok. I don't know how much I like it.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's not,
apparently.
But even when you get someone who is kind of unique like that,
weird choice, but okay. Yeah. I don't know, man. But. Yeah.
Well, Marvel has to forsake creativity in favor of their extended universe. And I agree with you. We all need escapism. People need escapism. But I've never seen escapism on this kind of scale. And that's the kind of irreversible part of it, because there's kids growing up today. In 20 years, we're going to see even more connected universes as like a fucking retro look at it.
I don't know if it'll survive. I don't know if it's just a fad. Because one thing I noticed, maybe I'm wrong here, because I'm just not that big on superhero movies in general. But one thing I noticed is like when the Avengers came out, the Avengers film, when that came out, people went wild over it. I don't see people talking about that first movie anymore.
No, but they're wild over Endgame.
Yeah, the wild of the next film. It's like they're wild over Infinity War. And maybe they still are, but I feel like in a couple of years they won't be. I don't know how many. Sure, I'm sure that quite a few people go back and watch all these movies, but to the scale,
that's
they're
what
not.
the more successful part of the YouTube film criticism sphere is doing right now. Like, my feed is just full of them watching all 20-something movies right now.
Well, what about The Last Jedi?
Oh my god, I never saw the whole... I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but I never saw the whole Last Jedi, but that fucking irritated the hell out of me. That monopolized film criticism for so long.
Yeah, I actually okay, so I'll run down my take on Star Wars. I'm actually
my
a
take
fan.
without even seeing it is that it couldn't have been that big of a fucking deal, man.
Like either way, yeah. I mean, my take on Star Wars in general is I'm actually a fan of George Lucas's films, the ones that he wrote and produced, including the prequels. Actually, I'm just not really a fan of the Disney Star Wars ones. I think that The Last Jedi is the best of the Disney Star Wars, but not that big on it. It's not worth 20-hour videos that people are making. That
no, but the thing is, people are watching them.
Yeah, and
I don't understand.
I would be lying if I said I've never seen these videos. I have seen these videos. That's how I know.
Well, I've never seen a movie, and I've watched at least like 10 because I'm like, I do not understand. A million views, and all these other film and now they're like real YouTube film critics and shit.
You still don't get good. I mean, I'm not saying that they're totally void of criticism. They're totally void of points. That's not the case. It's just
I'm sitting there with my mouth agape, going, "How is this? I'm never gonna make it."
like there's more films out there besides Star Wars and Marvel. Like I said, I'm actually a Star Wars fan. If somebody made a Star Wars video, while also making videos on, let's say, like Fellini or Godard, I would be way more interested. Does that make sense?
It's really difficult to find those channels. I don't think they exist very much.
I don't think they exist. Maybe sometime I'll be the bridge sometime. I want to cover. I'm not against covering films. It's just that if I cover a mainstream film, I want it to be.
I'm not against covering mainstream films. I'm not against covering mainstream films. I cover like Die Hard and all sorts of fucking stupid shit, like Blade Runner 2049 kind of idea. But I have said on the channel I will never cover a Marvel movie. I will never do it.
Oh,
and it's mostly
is this video the closest thing then?
This is the closest thing. But
okay, that's fine.
It's because there's plenty of conversation. We've talked about it. It's completely just suffocating the market. If you want to watch a Marvel movie, there's plenty of people who actually care about the movies out there, and they'll talk about it for you. I'm just not going to add to that monopolization.
Yeah, and keep in mind for and I'm saying this to your viewers right now. I'm not saying you can't like these movies. Like that's on you. That's all for you. You can enjoy these movies, and I think having superficial enjoyment of some things is totally fine. Also, I would just say,
I like a couple Marvel movies. I'm just not going to talk about them. I just don't want to. No point.
I think some of them are all right. I guess I can't say I like. I guess I like.
Well, sometimes it's impossible not to like something that's been scientifically made in a laboratory to
for you to like.
You have to
I don't know. I mean, personally, I find a lot of these films just kind of boring.
I would agree, but at the same time, you can't help but gasp or snicker because they've got it down to a fucking science. You can walk away and still not like it, but
I mean. When I saw Infinity War in theaters with some friends, I think so. Yeah. I didn't have any expectations, and so I actually thought it was all right because I was like, oh hey, I was able to because I had such low expectations, like the things that were made for people to like. I thought, okay, I can see something here. I rewatched it with friends also, and I'm like, I cannot stand this film. like,
Yeah.
like there's no.
But in that moment, because it's impossible not to be like taken aback by certain things because
Maybe I don't know. I
they
mean,
in a
like,
fucking laboratory, dude.
it's a science. It's an experiment. It's a product.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
It's a product. It's Coca-Cola. It's a hot summer day and it's lemonade.
That sounds good.
It's heartless, but
Well, I mean, maybe there's some heart to it. I mean, and like I said, I don't like to think in absolutes. I like to take everything into consideration. Like, there's reasons why people like these things. It's just that I just
I
don't.
think if you look at these reasons, they're kind of scary in the end. Like if you
Maybe.
really take a step back and it's like, why is culture so obsessed with superheroes right now and have been for such a long time?
Mm-hmm.
The kind of conclusions I'm drawing are just none of them are right. It's either infantilization or weird kind of propaganda. So I don't see.
And personally, yeah, no, I mean, I more or less agree with what you're saying. I think personally, like, it's also like these Marvel movies don't really convey what I think superhero movies should convey. Like, I find it very weird that most of these movies have stripped away the secret identity aspect. Like, that's like one of the most interesting things for superheroes for me. like,
Yeah.
like Spider-Man 2 does this really well, and I like Sam Raimi's films. Actually, all three, believe it or not. But the way that it handles secret identity and how much it impacts Peter's life and guides his choices to not be with Mary Jane, to be standoffish to his best friend. He's not able to be there for the people he cares about because he's busy being there for the people he cares about in secret. I find that stuff extremely interesting. I don't see any of those dynamic themes in these new movies. At
Which
least
to me is like, my God, it's a symptom of a larger problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we lose that secret identity aspect, we lose the humility. We lose like kind of the tortured aspect of the hero, kind of the selfless, and we're rallying behind it's like egotism.
Right. Yeah. I mean that's my take on it at least.
I would have to agree with it.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, there's but I don't know. That's how, but I think that's just how culture functions in a way. That's the way that that's the way society is. So I don't know. I don't know how much there is to do about it except just don't pay to see these movies. But then again, like, believe it or not, I mean, like, I actually don't go to the theater that often. But because all the theaters around me are not playing films that I really want to see. Um, but I think that there's I'm more likely to watch a Marvel movie because friends are more likely wanting to do things with me. And for that, and it's like, and for that, it's like, I think the community aspect is, I think it's good to have popcorn throw away who cares movies that you can, superficially enjoy because that's how you can kind of build friendships in a way, I mean, that's my counter argument, I guess. So.
One of the most beautiful things about films is that they're incredibly individualistic, but they're meant to be shared experiences as well. And
Yeah,
I think that's why film criticism like we do is important,
Mm-hmm.
because we can share our own experiences to extremely individualistic people. And yeah, I wouldn't be like a party pooper, man. If like I went over to someone's house and they were all watching like Avengers Endgame, I wouldn't be like, the death of cinema. Like,
Yeah, you should put on some Fellini or Michael Snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the Kino in here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I think that's yeah, I mean that's a good way to look at it, because I think ultimately film is both individualistic and shared experience, as you just said. I think that's a good way to put it.
And as is actual life, and that's what makes film so beautiful.